Hi everybody, welcome back to Hudson's House of Play. My name is Miss Lynn and you are joining me here for our craft tutorial today. All of this week we are talking about the scientific method and how to properly conduct a science experiment. We've learned about earth science, physical science, and we've even learned about life science. You guys have shared with Miss Lynn what you want to be as a scientist when you grow up. So today, one of our experiments based off of our sink and float experiment in class, we are going to create a few different variations of a boat using some of the objects that we know were floating objects based on our experiment in class. So let's get started with our materials. What do we need to create a boat? Well, first I want you to recall your own sink or float experiment. Do you remember an object that you used that sunk and one that floats? Well, make sure you're choosing objects that you know will float. That way we have a good base for our boat. Now, let's see what I have. First, we have some corks. In Miss Lynn's class, I had used corks as an object to test, and we determined that our corks were objects that float. So I'll be using some corks. I also have a sponge, a kitchen sponge. We also put this into our sink or float jug of water, and you determined with Miss Lynn that this object floats. Now, what else do I have here? I have some aluminum foil. We are going to test this, and I am going to show you how to create a simple boat out of aluminum foil, and we'll see if it floats. If it doesn't, no big deal. It's all about the experiment, right? And then I have a straw here, which we know will float, and I have some decorative items like our markers and some colorful paper that will just add a few extra details and pizzazz to our boat. So let's start with our cork. Miss Lynn is going to show you what I do with my cork. Oh, and we also need some rubber bands for our cork. I am going to find two corks that are about the same size. So I have two corks right here that are pretty much the same size. I'm going to hold them side by side just like this, and it's easiest to use two rubber bands to secure the corks together. If you don't have rubber bands, that's okay. You can use string or you can use a twisty tie. Those will all do the same thing that a rubber band will do. But Miss Lynn is going to use a rubber band because I have lots of these, and I'm just going to tie the rubber band nice and tight on one end, and I'll show you what it looks like first. Ta-da, just like that. And I will do it for the other end. Oops. Miss Lynn has lots of rubber bands in her home. And I'll show you my little rubber band ball that I have. All right. So here is my little cork raft. I've tied two rubber bands to the ends to secure the two corks together. Of course, if you have a hot glue gun, you can glue those together too. Here's my rubber band ball. Every rubber band that I find, I save, and I just keep tying it around and around until this ball gets bigger and bigger. I have a really big one too. Thought you should just see that. Okay, now that I have the base of my cork, I am going to grab, you can use a straw, you can use a twig, a small twig that you find outside. I happen to have a toothpick. I'm going to use this teeny tiny toothpick as my mast. I'll stick it right on top. So I'm just gonna simply stick my toothpick right into the cork as far down as I can, just like that. And I'll show you, there it is. And I'm going to add a little colorful flag to my cork boat. I'm going to use the red, and I have my scissors, and you can use scrap paper, or if you have, I also have some cool masking tape here. If you wanted, you can also tape a little flag at the top. Miss Lynn will show you how to do that in a little bit. Let me get rid of this tiny piece here. with a little red flag for this one. I'm just gonna cut a little triangle. There we go. And here's my little red triangle, just like the flags I have behind me. And I'm gonna find a little piece of tape. Let me use this masking tape to tape onto my toothpick. So I'm gonna put my flag, oops, let me show you. I'm gonna hold my flag right here, and I'll just tape it on one side and then onto the other side, just like that. Ta-da! Now this is gonna be fun to test out in the water. And you guys have the opportunity to take your little boats and test them in the lake, or test them in your bathtub, or in the kitchen sink. It's up to you. And this is just a starting point to learn how to make some simple boats that will float. And then once you get really good, maybe you can add extra and make some big grand boats and send it in to Miss Lynn so I can check them out. Next object that I'm going to use is our sponge. Miss Lynn is gonna cut this sponge down to size because it's pretty big and I don't really need a big piece. I might wanna make another craft with some of this sponge. So I'm just going to cut it down to size. And I think I'm just gonna cut it in, should I cut it in half? Yeah, I'm just gonna cut it right in half. So here we go. Using your scissors nice and carefully, and you can keep it large if you'd like. I'm just going to cut it in half because I think I want to save my sponge for maybe another craft as well. Okay, so from here we know that our sponge will float. And if you don't have this green part, then that's great. Otherwise, you can always pull it off. I'm just gonna leave it on. I'm gonna keep that green scrubbing part as the bottom of my boat. Now I need to stick my pink straw right on top. So all I'm going to do is just cut a tiny little hole in the inside of my sponge, and I'm gonna fold, I'll show you how I do that. I'm gonna fold my sponge like this, and I'm gonna bring my sponge into the scissor, and I'm just gonna do a quick little tiny snip, and that was enough to create a little hole for Miss Lynn to stick her straw into. I don't need this super long straw, so I'm going to cut it down. Let's see, yeah, right there. There we go. I'm going to stick my super pink straw right through that little hole that we just made. Ta-da! And now I'm gonna add a cute little flag, 2 little flags onto my sponge boat. I'm gonna use my masking tape, and you guys can use whatever you'd like. You can use tape, you can use paper, you can use old cardboard, you can use anything you'd like. Be creative. That's the best part of these crafts. Miss Lynn loves to see how creative you guys get. All right, I have a piece of tape here, and I'm just going to tape it around my straw here, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So I have 1 little flag right there, and it doesn't have to be perfect. You guys can do it however you like, and Miss Lynn will do 1 more. 1 more below here. This is, oops, it's so sticky. There we go. Let me show you what my flag looks like. Ta-da! And you can keep it like this. Maybe you take a marker. Miss Lynn's gonna take a marker and draw a little something on here. I'm gonna draw a little happy face. And then I'm gonna draw a little sad face because sometimes I'm happy and sometimes I'm sad, right? We check in with our emotions, and some days we have good days and sometimes we have not so good days, but that's all right. We have each other. And you guys always cheer me up on my tougher days. There we go. Okay, I have 2 little boats ready for experimenting and testing out on the water. Now let's see, what is Miss Lynn going to do with this foil? I am going to take a piece out. Oh, it's stuck. Let me take this whole piece out and pull it. And then I'm going to tear. And all I'm going to do is fold this. I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm gonna fold it in half, which I just did, and then I'm gonna fold it in half again. Now from here, Miss Lynn is going to try to make a boat shape. So I'm going to curl the ends up like this. I'm gonna pinch them together. And I'm not gonna do anything crazy. I'm just gonna make a shape that looks like a boat. And then I'm gonna fold in my excess pieces. Anything extra, you can just fold it in and it should be just fine. All right, let me show you what I have so far. And the best thing about aluminum foil is that it moves and folds and bends very easily. So you can adjust anything that you need as you come to making your boat, as your boat starts kind of coming together. All right, let me show you what I have. And Miss Lynn's boat is not perfect. It just kind of is shaped like a boat. I did my best to keep the inside hollow and shape it into sort of a boat. Now I have a little extra straw, so I'm gonna just add this little extra straw right on the inside. I'm gonna use some tape. Let's get some tape for that. So I'm just gonna just use the tape to tape the inside of my straw here onto my boat, and I'll show you guys what it looks like, so don't worry. And I'm gonna do this one here on this side. I figured my other two have flags on them, so this one's just gonna have a fun little straw sort of triangle at the top, like almost like a basket handle. And it'll also keep the boat from opening too wide. All right, here we go, you guys. Check it out, I'll show you what I did. I just took my bendy straw and I added it sort of like a basket handle, like if this were a little basket for my boat. And we'll see how it goes. And if it doesn't work out, no big deal. We're just experimenting. We're observing what we notice with our floating objects and what works and what doesn't work. Okay, now that we have 3 different examples of boats, it's time to try it out. Are you ready? I do have my big bowl of water with me. So let me move all of this aside. And I have to carefully grab this water so I don't spill it everywhere. Here it comes. And I have this big baking pan here so that you guys can see how our objects are floating or sinking. Move it close to you. All right, I have lots of water in here, as you can see, so Miss Lynn is going to be very careful. I'm going to bring it close to the edge. Let's start with our cork boat. Let's see how this goes. You don't want to throw your boats in there. You want to gently place them in and see if they float. And blow it around. That's a lot of fun. Ooh. And it could be a lot of fun to make a big flag on your boat. That way it can catch some wind and it'll blow the boat even further. Next up, our happy sad sponge boat. Are you ready? Let's see how it goes. Ooh, this one is cool. I like the color of the yellow sponge and the pink straw. Let's give it a little blow, a little wind. Ooh, good idea. We should have a race. Now, last boat. We didn't try our aluminum foil in our sink or float experiment in class. So this could be a hit or a miss. What do you think? Let's make our hypothesis. I don't know. I think it might float. I'm gonna hope it does. Let me just make sure it's nice and squeezed together. Here we go. I'm gonna plant it in there. Whoa. Oh, let's see. Here, let's open this a little bit wider. Well, it's floating, but it's not really floating nicely. I'll move this over so that you can see. It kind of keeps blobbing over. Maybe if we take our straw out, that could change the way the boat floats. What do you think, guys? That's what experimenting is all about, making an observation and then asking some questions and experimenting further. Okay, let's try this again. I'm widening my boat here, and let's see if our boat does better without the straw. Well, I think we have our answer, and if you can see here, and Miss Lynn will send you a picture as well from another view, our boat is floating just splendidly with our cork boat and our sponge boat. I had so much fun making these little boats with you guys, and I hope you enjoy this experiment as well. I'll see you next time. Goodbye to all my friends. Goodbye, goodbye, goodbye to all my friends. I'll see you again. From your place to my place, from your room to the classroom. Goodbye to all my friends. I'll see you